Hello. Is everyone happy? Ah. I am here. Hello, hello. Let's see. Ah, here I am. Hello, darlings. Or whatever. How you doing, everyone? I was going to stream yesterday, but I kind of forgot. I don't really have an excuse. I just really forgot. When did this model happen? Ooh, a long time ago. I don't know, when did it happen? Christmas? I think? But I just recently decided to use it full time because I enjoy using my hands. So before that, we didn't really see this model so much because I was like, let's just use my 2D all the time. But recently, I'm like, oh, whatever. I prefer 3D. I know people don't. I think people mainly prefers the 2D model. But I myself personally just prefers this. So this is the model you will have to see now. This is my face. But hello everyone. I see Linus here. Hello Sun. Hello Gina. And oh, hi Pun Pun. How you doing? Tony. Hello, hello. It depends on the tracking what is better, but if you want to wave to us, then I'm not going to complain. Yeah, I do enjoy it a lot more. But I'm also like a person who talk with my hand a lot, so I just prefer being able to do air quotes when I talk about things and books and stuff like that. I think it's also like as long as you feel like yourself, you know? And I feel like my 2D was always like, oh, you have to have a lore, you have to be like this, you have to do like that. So I made my 2D more into the standard, this is what a VTuber has to be kind of box. And when I made this, I felt like, let's just do me. So I picked clothing that I use, I picked glasses that I use, you know, so it's more me. And I feel like that's maybe why I enjoy it more. I do think it's just different when it comes to tracking, which is better and which isn't. Sometimes I also feel like, you know, what you have to say is also very important and not just your tracking. Because like a lot of people can have like really beautiful models, but if they're just really boring people or not very educational or they don't have much to say or much of value, it doesn't really matter how beautiful their models are in the end. 2D or 3D, you're still my queen. Oh, thank you. I still get very flustered, you know, I can't take compliments. Yeah, but I was going to stream yesterday. I don't know if anyone caught that, but like 20 minutes before the stream yesterday, I was like, shit, I haven't prepared all the slides that we're going to talk about. And I had to be like, cancel it. Or I didn't really cancel it. I changed it to today, which I think, I mean, I think it was fine. Compliments are difficult, indeed. First time catching a stream, by the way. I watched a few of your videos and a community post. Nice to meet you in real time. Aww. Welcome, welcome to the community. Oh shit. I made the music really loud for myself. I almost went deaf there. Okay, it's fine now. Yeah. We try to do some wrap-ups every month, because considering I read so much. I don't know what's wrong with me, I just read way too much. But this month I haven't read so much. I know like you will look at the statistics and be like, shit, that is a lot. But I don't think it's a lot to be me. I got really burned out from work after my last week at work. Now I'm on vacation. I have like 3 weeks of vacation from work, which is great. I really need it. Like really needs it. But the last few weeks I was just so exhausted. I had like no energy to read or even comprehend what I was reading. And then on top of that, my dad was kind of like diagnosed with cancer. So it was like a lot happening at once. So yeah, I didn't read so much that I was hoping to read. But I'm reading a lot more now. So maybe the wrap up for July is gonna go very crazy. We will see. Oh, hello, Death. On July 18 and 19, I'm going to Reptile Expo in Florida to get something cool. Ooh, I can think the redfoot tortoise that I really want to get is... Oh, that's cool. Yeah. To albino red. Oh, I don't really know much about turtles. No, I don't. I've seen some videos on turtles, and I know that they live for a very long time, or some do at least. I used to read a lot, but then more than now. Oh, mostly because of my health. But if you want recommendations for old sci-fi, ooh, that's actually one of the genres I'm really fucking bad at reading. Like, I want to read sci-fi, but every time I pick something up, it's just like, not my thing. I also think it's because I'm really bad at math and science is not my thing. And a lot of the books, they kind of like feel like they're hard to get into because like they want you to have a specific amount of knowledge before you go into them. But like dark matter and everything. And I feel like sometimes I just want to read a book and I don't want to study. But I also do want to read sci-fi books. So it's a hard one, definitely. This sounds like some cool turtles. Yes. Have you tried City of Golden Shadows, cyberpunk-ish sci-fi? I have not, but I think I kind of recognize I think I recognize it. I wonder if I search for it, if I can see how it looks like. No, I've not seen it either. But I do have a friend who reads a lot of sci-fi, so maybe that friend have just talked about it, and that's why I feel like it's familiar. Or is it based on something? I don't know. Part of me feels like I've seen it, but also not. To be honest, this summer, I don't know if you guys have seen my new video. I made like a video on my must-reads for the summer, and it's very much fantasy based, which I thought was really funny. So that's why I decided to also reread Stephen King's The Dark Towers, because it was a long time ago I read it, and I felt like maybe it's time to just reread it. Otherwise, it's like a lot of fantasy and horror books. I really want to get into horror books again. Back in the day, I was like an avid reader. I only read like horror books, but I feel like then I felt like nothing affected me and I was not enjoying horror anymore because I felt like everything was the same. But I feel like a lot of horror back then is not like horror today. And there's more subgenres to horror than it was for like 10 years ago. So I feel like there's a lot of exploring to do in horror nowadays, which is fun. We don't want we don't know what dark matter is though, so both dark matter and dark energy can be used almost like magic in fantasy. There are theories. There are theories, but we don't know if Gina, stop being smart, okay? Thank you for gifting. Thank you. San is now a member. Gets a pretty teacup by your name. I smart. Yeah, don't be smart. you only smart because you're math and science teacher, okay? I'm book smart. I know what to do if I get chased by a murderer, okay? And not because I read like spicy dark romance, you know? I just know how to outsmart axe murderers. I don't know. I'm different kind of smart. I also literally just passed the course where we talked about just that. Oh, I see. So in like a month, you will not be as smart in that. Good to know. Good to know. It's also kind of funny because like May slides, there were like 31 slides. And today we only have, let's see, we have 18 slides. So we don't have that many slides today because I have read a lot of book series. So we don't really have that much to talk about. I mean, we do, like 18 is still a lot, but we don't have like 3-4 hours of books to talk about. Oh yeah, Gina is a teacher. She's very impressive. Can you see, she and I are best friends from high school, and I became a librarian and she became a teacher. And that's why we go hand in hand, because, you know, we like the same things, if that makes sense. Do you guys want to see the first book I read? It's a manga. It's not really a big shock. Oh, is it? Kingdom comes out like 1 volume in English every month right now. So the first book I read of the month was Kingdom Volume 6. And it's still a yes for me. It's just like, you know, it's based on ancient China, how China become China. It's kind of like based on real battles and battlefields and battle strategies, and a lot of the names are from history, but there's also like a lot added for plot. But like the characters are really good and I'm loving it a lot. It's if you're interested in history and war, and if you love like a lot of war retellings, I feel like this would be like up your alley. In the beginning, like the main character is really fucking annoying, but then like he learns and he becomes smarter and stuff. And I feel like that's all that matters. Like you have really good character growth, and I feel like you get that with this one. And the artwork is really, really pretty. Which is kind of funny because like when this author started, I think he was like an architect or something, and he didn't do that well in art. But then he asked everyone who was like big names, like the mangakas for One Piece and JoJo Bizarre Adventure and like all these big names to like teach him how to do it better, and they like showed him the way of how to make really good characters. The character design cover reminds me of Akira. Oh yeah, I can see it. I see what you mean. Actually, this character on this cover, we don't really know much about. He's very, very young, or he looks very young, and he's like in this big war, and he kind of feels like he's probably too young to be there, and he's not like the strongest, but he's very, very clever, and he knows strategy really well. So yeah, it's not always about your muscles and your musculus, it's also about the brain sometimes. Lesson 1 on designing good character. From the best, yes. Learn from the best. It was kind of funny because I think that he wanted to send in, and it was like, could this be a good story? And everyone was like, yes, the story is amazing, but like your art is shit. Get better at art. So he had to like get better. But I feel like because of that, he hasn't like gone back on the storytelling. So his storytelling and his like how he phrases things, and how like this becomes first and then this, and you can feel the tension of the war and everything. I feel like his storytelling is really, really well done if you compare it to other works, because I feel like other works can sometimes just be like, oh, it's pretty art, and then they only rely on the art being pretty. But here you actually get a lot of historical accuracy and a really good story told. A Japanese made Chinese history manga? Yes. Funny enough. But yeah. I enjoy it. I just recently... No, not recently. I have pre-ordered volume 7. I think it comes out in 6 days or something like that. So hopefully I will get volume 7 soon as well. Right now I think it's like 70 or 80 volumes, and it's going to be like 104. So, but definitely have a long way to go. A lot of reading, a lot of war, so that's gonna be interesting. The second book I read was also a manga. It's gonna be a lot of manga now until we get into the actual fictional books. I read the first volume of this one in May. I don't know if you guys remember, but I truly love this one. It's different and it's weird, but it's like good weird. It says it's a web comic, but it's not. It's a manga. I think I just took yeah, I wrote wrongly there, I think. But yeah, it's good. After reading the first one, it was really good. It's a thriller. It's about this police guy you see on the cover. He he comes to a home, and in this home you find a lot of dead bodies from children. And it turns out there's a man living there, and he adopts a lot of children. And there's like a lot of talk about child abuse, and they find like a video of the children starving and being locked up in the basement, and they start eating each other. It's a horror thriller book, okay? So it's not it's definitely weird. But there's 5 children who are not dead yet that's roaming around, and they all come to him and they say, our dad would never do something like this. It's not dad, there's someone else who did this. But like all the evidence is pointing to the dad actually doing it, but they can't find the dad. And in the second book we actually find the dad, and the dad is telling the police he did it. But he didn't. It's very unsettling. It's very like character driven, and it's very like it's told from the perspective of different character, but you can't really trust them. So it's you can't trust the narrative really, because a lot of characters lie, and you don't really know what's true and isn't. I really enjoy this one. It's definitely weird, or not weird, but it makes you think a lot, and it's really good. It does have a lot of scene with child abuse and how to like break children's psyche, so like some red flags if you want to get into it. But if you're really into thrillers and horror, I think you will really enjoy this one. I'm looking forward to the third volume. I don't know when the third volume is coming out, but it's definitely on my to-be-read list, and to buy for that matter. I only gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It didn't get like a full pot because I feel like there was something missing. I don't really mind being a question mark my entire read. I feel like I'm fine with that. But I felt like the main characters do some stuff that makes no sense, and he do them just to move the story along, and I understand it makes sense to make the story go on, but like if you look at his character, he would never do them, if that makes sense. And that's when I feel like maybe I'm reading too much books and I'm reading too much into it, and maybe I don't have to uber analyze everything and just enjoy the ride, because I feel like this is the kind of story where you just have to enjoy it and just be like, oh, it's whatever. But I also feel like thrillers should make sense in some way in the end. So yeah, it's a good read, but it's not like full 5 stars. Kind of reminds me of Lord of the Flies, but with an unreliable narrative. Yes, indeed. We also like get like he falls in love with like one of the children. Kinda falls in love. We don't really know yet. I think they have a thing for each other, but she's also like very manipulative, and she also told him that she lies all the time, but he still believes everything that she say. So it's kind of like hard to know. And now it's also like the dad died in prison, but some of the kids still die. Like the 5 kids that we have, they die one by one. So it's probably like one of the kids, or if it's not one of the kids, it's probably someone who made, like one of the kids made someone else do something. I don't really know yet. There's a lot of question marks. There's also this one child that we haven't really met yet that's also in prison, and they always talk about like it can't be him because he's in prison. But he was also a psychopath when he was a kid, and he would like kill hamsters and push them down the drain and like suffocate them in the drains. So like I feel like maybe he is the person we're looking for. I feel like he's the most obvious answer, but everyone is just like, no, it can't be him because he's in prison. But how do we know he's in prison? Because no one has gone and actually met him. What if he like switched places with someone, or maybe he made someone do something for him out of prison? I don't know. It's just weird. There's a lot of question marks on this one, okay? But it's very engaging. I truly I like it, and I feel like you should give it a try if you're into that kind of thing. After I read this one, I was like, okay, I really need something more horrifying. Like, I felt like I read a lot of thriller books both in May and with this one, so I felt like I want to read something that's actually spooky and not just like based on this could happen, like true crime. So I picked up a manga that is horror related. And I feel like for everyone who haven't read this one, I feel like it giving Junji Ito vibes. It's called 100 Ghost Stories. I think I have to check because I realized I took the Japanese cover. Yeah, 100 Ghost Stories to Die For, it's called. And I read volume 1 to 4. I think there's 6 volumes out, or 7. 6, 7. Okay, no. None of that. And it's about this guy, or little boy that you see on the cover. He has a really weird, like, I think it starts off with him wanting to maybe Sudoku at school. And then his friend, who's a girl, she was like, don't do it, you have to live. And she's like telling him ghost stories, 100 ghost stories. And he decides not to Sudoku. And he goes home, and every night he decides to tell these 100 ghost stories. So like every episode is like the little boy goes into his room, starting the camera, and then starts the story. So we get like a little glimpse of the little boy's life at home. And then we get like a ghost story that has nothing to do with the boy. And then in the end, we have like 2 pages of like the boy commenting on the ghost story. And then he's like, anyway, see you guys tomorrow for the next story. And then like the next day, you have like 2 pages of the guy, like, or the boy starting the camera. And he's like, hello. And he's talking a little bit. And then you get the ghost story, and then he kind of like review the ghost story. But like during these 2 first pages and the 2 last pages, we get like an insight of how the little boy is and his home life, and it's very interesting. I feel like that's more interesting than the actual ghost stories itself. We get to know, like, I think that he has like a stepmom who's really cruel to him, and they bully him, and his dad is very mean as well. And then something happened to the stepmom, and the police came, and he got locked up in his room by the police because they were looking for like a murder weapon of some sort. And we see him on camera hiding it. So it's like there's like 2 different stories going on. We get like the story from the boy and why he's unhappy. And then we get like these actual 100 ghost stories. So it's like the more ghost stories we get, like they are horrific and spooky and body horror. We also got like, I'm more scared for the boy, and I'm like, is the boy good? Like, he worries me a lot. I don't know. I really enjoy this a lot. And the ghost stories are very common Japanese ghost stories. So if you've heard like Japanese creepypasta before, these are that kind of ghost stories. The boy also said that something big is gonna happen after he tells 100 ghost stories, and every volume has 10 stories. So I think there's going to be like 10 books in total. I don't know how many books there is at this moment. I can check, but I think it's like 6 or 7 out right now. Oh no, 10 is actually out, but I don't think all 10 is out in English yet. It also have a hard time finding the first one to buy. I don't know why, but I just don't seem to be able to find it in English to buy it. Well, we'll see. One day maybe I will find it. I can see why you prefer the 3D model. Hush you. Interesting, the original title is 100 Tales Where Only I Die. Yeah, I heard something about that, and I think it's referring to the boy actually going to die in the end. But I'm not sure. It's definitely an interesting read. So if you're into like short stories, this one is very easily to get into. If you like Junji Ito, easy to get into as well. If you want something short that you don't feel like you have to like finish, or you can read here and there, it's a good story. Maybe it's more appropriate to read it in autumn for Halloween, but I really enjoy horror, so I read it anywhere. Then I read this one. It's volume 2 of Adobana. In May I read the first volume, and then I had to buy the second one because it was that good, and I bought level volume 3 as well, and it hasn't come yet. I ordered it and it told me it will be here 5th of January next year. I don't think that's a problem. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen, because sometimes they give you like a really late date, so you can't complain you haven't gotten the package yet. But I think it's gonna get here in a week or two. But I just found it like really funny that it's coming in like January. But this is a story, it's a thriller, or like a crime, psychological crime book. It's a very graphic and very depressive, and it's about this main girl who it starts off with her going to the police saying that, hey, the high schooler you found dead, I was actually the one who killed her, and I just didn't kill her, I am her best friend as well. And the first book is very much just like her handing herself over to the police, and she's telling the story of why she killed her best friend, but you realize that she's also like not a good narrator, because she's lying a lot because the story doesn't make sense, and then they have to like dig a little deeper and like more and more to like find out what it actually is that happened, and what drove the girl to murder her best friend that she loves more than anything. And it's very interesting. One thing after another happened, and it's very traumatizing, and there's a lot of sexual assault in this, and you have to be very prepared for that the things that they tell you are going to change, because like you can't really trust the narrator and the characters. So there's a lot of question marks around this one, and I heard the third one is the last volume, so I'm really looking forward to reading that. I finished this one a couple of weeks ago. I liked it quite a bit. Yes! Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. I really like it too. It's different from what I've read before when it comes to thriller manga, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think also it takes place, like the first book is about like the confession of the girl, and then the second book is more like, this is what actually happened. This is like 6 months before the actual murder happened, and you get to like see them interact with each other. Why were they best friends? You have the best friend's boyfriend, and who is he? Is he a good man? Is he a good person? It's very dark though, so you have to like be wary of that if you're gonna read this one. But I really do recommend this one. I thought it was amazing. I don't really have much to say about this more than read it. It's fucking good. You know? Then the next one. Okay, there's a lot to unpack with this one. There's another manga. This is a maybe for me. I've read volume 1, 2, 3, and there's only 3 volumes, so that's the entire series. This is a yaoi. And the only thing I knew about this one when I bought it was it's probably a little bit sci-fi because the cover looks a little bit sci-fi, and it's green, and green is my favorite color, and it's yaoi, and I don't really read much yaoi, and I really want to read more yaoi, and people said it was good and it's romantic, so I bought it. But then there's so much to unpack with this, okay? Because I don't even know how to start. I'm sorry, I'm just flabbergasted with myself because I don't know how to start. Oh my god, what did I write on Goodreads about it? Yeah, there's 2 guys, okay, that's in sex trafficking. They're both very tragic. They have different reasons to being sex trafficked or bought by like a sugar daddy or whatever, being used for sex. It's very bleak, okay? One of the guys with brown hair in the front, he got out of it, and he's now more working behind the scenes, so he's still working along the side of it, but like not selling his body. And the only reason why he's not selling his body is because he was sold to some masochist who wanted to like, or sadist maybe, someone who wanted to really fuck him up and hurt him, and he was hurt really bad. Like he kind of died, but he didn't die. And then he has a lot of scars all over his body, so they can't be fixed. Anyway, they both end up meeting each other by like chance, I guess. And then this one guy who's like just out of like a relationship, and his boyfriend decided to marry a woman, and he was like, oh, so you're not gay, I guess. I don't know. And then they start having a relationship, but it's not really a relationship, and they're very different, and they're very traumatized, and you can tell that they are extremely traumatized because they don't know how to have a proper relationship or even a conversation with another human being, because everything is taken wrongly. And there's a lot of red flags in this one, and it's not healthy. And then there's some mafia people looking for someone, because I don't know. There's a lot to unpack with this one. It's also an erotic book, so like even it says it's like romance, but it's not really romance because it's full on sex scenes, like okay, I can't. And they're not censored, so they like full on and I kinda was interested in these tragic souls and like how would they find happiness or something like happiness, and I guess they kinda did. Without like spoiling the ending, they did somewhat find some sort of happiness, I suppose. But like it wasn't a satisfying ending, and I feel like it was so traumatizing reading about their lives and what they have been through with sex work and sex trafficking and all of that, to then be like, haha, let's have a cute funny sex scene, because it kind of felt off to me, because I felt like you either have a traumatizing story or you have funny erotic yaoi book. I felt like mixing the two was weird, especially because it's about sex trauma. To like take sex trauma and them talking about like how they're traumatized having sex and to then have sex, it made no sense to me. But maybe it's just me talking and me thinking too much again. Maybe I should have just enjoyed it. But yeah, I bought it for the cover and I enjoyed it somewhat. It's a 3 out of 5 star. It's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. It's just very mediocre, in my opinion. Yeah. Moving on. This book, I don't know if you want me to talk too much about this book, because this book you can only find in Norwegian and Swedish. So if you're not Swedish or Norwegian, you will not be able to read this one. But it's like, this is normal fiction. This is a normal book, right? It's a series of 28 books, and I read 20 to 28. And it's called Doktorens döttrar, or the doctor's daughters, I guess. And it's about two girls who have a father who's a doctor. The plague spreads across the 1800s of Norway. The father dies, and they realize that the father have put money into something, and he can't get his money back. He basically gambled, not really gambled them away, but he gambled on a dream, so to speak. So his wife and children stands penniless, and as a doctor, you know, had good standards in the 1800s, and suddenly they were standing without anything, and they had to like move out of the big house, and because they were women, they had no right in anything, basically. And it was an interesting read. It was 28 volumes of it. I gave it 3 to 4 stars depending on the book. Some were better than the others. I think from book 1 to book 28, there's like a span of 10 or 12 years. So we get like a lot of years in between there, which is pretty good. But it's a lot of drama, a lot of broken hearts. In the end, we get some LGBTQ as well. A lot of doctors, because one of the girls, she marries a doctor who's a friend of her dad's. So there's a lot of doctor talk, I guess. Really good to have you back, Queen. Aw, thank you. Break time is over. 31 months, that's crazy though. Very crazy. But yeah, I enjoy these books. They are very, like, you don't have to use your brain, because like it's very easy fiction books. You can just like relax and just read. It is what it is. They always end on a cliffhanger, and it always kind of like ends in the middle of the most intense scene ever, which makes you that you have to read the next book in the series. And then you start reading the next book, and you're like, oh, that happened. And then it's kind of like goes down and gets boring, and then it peaks in the end with another cliffhanger. So it knows how to work you. It's very much like a drug, this series, in my opinion. But I have finally finished all 28, and I can finally relax, okay? So yeah. I read 8 of the volumes, I think, because like I think there's like 200 pages of each volume, and I think a lot of people say that, oh, you can read one every day because they take like 4 hours to read. I don't know, but I read them in like 1.5 or 2 hours because they were that easy, you know. when you have like a smooth brain and you don't have to activate the brain. It goes in here and out here, you know? I tend to drop series like that in the boring bits, yeah. I've taken breaks from this one sometimes because in the later ones, I think like after book 15 or something, the main characters, like the daughters, they become heinous. Like in the beginning, they were like very, oh my god, we're rich girls, and you could like be understanding of them being rich girls going into poverty. But then they were in poverty and they were strong, independent women who like took care of themselves. But then when they finally got married into riches again, they became like really vicious, horrible people, and they started treating like the poor kind of bad. And I feel like that was not really up par to their character growth, because I feel like if you've gone through that yourself, maybe you shouldn't judge other people because you yourself were there, but you had the opportunity to marry up. Why are we pointing fingers at the other ladies of the city who does not have that opportunity? At least they still had like a fancy last name that they could still like ride somewhat on. You know, some people like just born in the gutters. I don't know. So sometimes I kind of like abandoned this because I hated the characters and how they treated people. And they were also like, oh, we stand for women and feminism and stuff, and women should be able to do what men does. But as soon as one of them have a daughter who's 16 and she's like, I don't want to marry, I want to be something myself, and I want to go to a university and study butterflies or whatever she wanted to do. I don't really know. Like the daughter there, or the mom, she was like, fuck no. You have to marry, but you have to go to proms and find a husband. But like, you yourself were like talking about feminism and women being just as good as men. I don't know. I feel like we had character growth, but then after book 15 it went down again, and then in the end it kinda went up. But like, they still had very crooked values in the end. And I don't know, I feel like the ending was not as good as I would have wanted it to be. But I also feel like, you know, when you write these long stories with like 28 novels, I think it's hard. Maybe if you, because this is the first series from this author, she haven't written anything before this. Maybe not writing 28 books the first thing you do. Maybe she should have limited herself to like 10 and then maybe worked her way up if she realized that she actually had more story to go on. Because I also kind of feel like she did not have much story, because some books were just really boring because nothing happened. They were just like filler books, and you know, you don't want a filler book. Like a filler book of 200 pages? Nah. Yeah. But I mean, if you want something soothing and something you don't have to use your brain for, it's a good read. Then I found this one. It's a manga, but it's a Taiwanese manga, which I thought was really interesting. And I also bought it because it was had a pretty cover. It's called Yan, Y-A-N, Yan, Yan, something like that. And it's by a Taiwanese author, and it's about revenge, but it's also about superhumans and Superman, but Superwoman. I would say it's kind of like Marvel meets manga super people. It's like Marvel and Sailor Moon in one, but without the makeup and transformation thing. We have this one girl you see on the cover. It starts off with her family being murdered, her entire family slaughtered, and she's the only one alive. And everyone decides that she has to be the perpetrator who killed her entire family for some reason. Her entire family is also in opera, like really old school opera singers. And she was being taught to be an opera singer herself in the future, with all the singing and theater and all of that. Hence the outfit on the cover. She is being like placed into custody, like police custody, and then some people higher up kind of like frame it so that she is the perpetrator who killed her entire family. But there's one police who's like, but she didn't do it because we didn't have evidence until suddenly someone made a phone call and now we have evidence, but we don't. But she is taken to a lab somewhere and she's gone for like 40 years or something, 30 years maybe. And then everyone dies at this secret location, but she doesn't. She survives, but she has not aged a single day. She's still like 16, and she's out for revenge for whoever actually murdered her family and stuff like that. And then on her way to look out for the people who did her family, she meets other people with like superhuman powers. Like being able to see into the future and stuff like that. She has I would say that her abilities are kind of like Superman. She has like super strength and stuff like that. She's also really good at fighting. The only thing that I didn't like about this one, why it has 4 out of 5 stars, is the storytelling jumps a lot. So you have to like make a lot of conclusions yourself. Like, okay, they were here and then we ended up here, which means probably this happened in between, because there's like a lot of jump cuts and it's kind of like hard to follow along. But other than that, I kind of liked it. It's interesting to see actual proper like superheroes in the manga that's not just like Sailor Moon styled superheroes, but it's actually more Marvel superheroes, and them not knowing where they come from. And then you have this super villain, because like you can't have heroes without having villains. There's this woman who's like, I have to create a super villain because without a super villain we would not have superheroes, and I want the world to recognize there is superheroes for some reason. So she decides to make an AI robot human, so she gives it human life by giving it a human brain to feast on. And this AI powered robot gets human emotions, I guess, and becomes the super villain. It's interesting, but it's definitely weird. I read volume 1 and 2. I like them. I preferred volume 1 more than 2 because I feel like 2 was like, I don't know. It also kind of like follows stereotypes, which I kind of think is the gag. I think the author was just like, I want to throw in a lot of superhero references, and yeah. I wasn't fully understanding why we created the AI supervillain. Because like the woman who did it, she was like the boss of a tech company, and apparently when she was a child, her parents and her was in a car and they hit something with the car, and apparently what they hit was the main character that you can see on on the book cover, and she was like, we hit a girl, but the girl was like 5 years old, but she was like superwoman because she didn't get hurt, but the car did, and the parents died. And you're like, oh, okay, so she wants revenge for her killing her parents. But no, she was just like, she told the world and the newspaper that her parents hit a superwoman with her car, and they didn't believe her, and she thought that was rude, so she decided to like kill the main character's family and put her into like a secret location until she had made a supervillain that was good enough for this superhuman. So that the world would finally trust the tech company woman that superhumans exists. So it was more like she was upset with the media for not listening to her, but she was also like 9 years old, and she was like blabbering about superwoman crushing the car. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't have listened either, I think. Yeah. That's twice everyone around her has died mysteriously. I think she's sus. Very appropriate to the time to have AI supervillain. Yeah, I think that's the idea. But I feel like, the thought behind it was just like, But yeah, it was also very like cliche with like the boss, the tech company boss, she was like, I've created you, I'm your master. And the AI bot was like, I'm human and smart and AI. I'm better. I don't need you anymore. I can override my power now and my system. And then he kind of like kills her, I think. Not sure. We will see in book 3. But yeah, it's interesting, but it's not like fully 5-star interesting. The art style though, oh my god, the art style is amazing. So pick it up just for the art style. But there is a lot of things that isn't explained. For example, like the girl, the main character, she has a familiar, and this familiar is a piece of paper that she kind of like folds into origami, and sometimes it's a dragon and sometimes it's a frog. It depends on how nice she is to her familiar, but we're not being explained to who the familiar is. Like, all I'm thinking about is Mulan and Mushu, but like, is that what it is? Is that just her ancestors' familiar that's there to help and guide her? Because he also doesn't add any value. He's just there. He's there to talk to her, and all they talk about is that she made him into a frog and he wants to be a dragon because he feels like he deserves to be a dragon. And that's basically the gag they have. And he makes no sense to me. But I don't know. It's an interesting story. Another book I read was a Swedish comic called Clara and the Garbage Raccoon City. I don't know. I read it for work. I added it in here just cause it says 5 out of 5, but it meant 3 out of 5. It's very mediocre. It's nothing special. It's very forgettable. I would not, like, you don't have to read it. There's a second book out, but I'm not gonna read it. I just read it because everyone at work told me it was really good. They're wrong. It wasn't. But it's about this girl who names Clara. Her brother is getting married, and she is really mad because she loves her brother and she doesn't want this new woman to take him away from her, which is kind of weird, not gonna lie. And she is acting out and being like a kid, and she's like having rage episodes, and her mom is like, you can't do that, I will send you to a school. And Clara is like, shit, I don't want to be sent to a school. So she tells her mom that she is going to go to the school. As long as she gets to go there by herself. It's going to be like a school where you live at. But then she doesn't go to school. She joins a gang of raccoon children. They basically have raccoon onesies, and they scavenger the city. And she feels like she's a musketeer or something. She feels like she's super cool. But it's only like the kids there are orphans and they have nowhere to go, and everyone has basically thrown them to the gutter. But she has the privilege of actually having a family who loves her, who wants the best for her. And not only does she have a good family, she has a family who has money. And I don't know, it's it kind of clashes because she's there for fun and other kids are not there for fun. They have no say in being there or not being there. So I kind of feel like it's disrespectful of her to be like, I want to be a raccoon child too, because I also want to be a cool pirate raccoon person to steal stuff from the rich. And I'm like, you're the rich person, by the way. Like, I don't know. The art is really impressive though. The only thing I liked about it was the art. Everything else sucked. I also feel like the main purpose of the story, what you're trying to tell the children, also sucked. Like, I understand what they were trying to say, but yeah. The author, Fabian Göransson, he wrote another story that was called Hocus Pocus, about witches, and that also was pretty weird in my opinion. It was also a Swedish comic. I should have known, like, he's just not my cup of tea. But yeah, I read it. This must be the secret manga. Broken stories are super rare outside Japan. Oh, really? Is that so? But yeah, I don't know. It's very forgettable. Then I read the ending of Sketchy. I read the first 1 to 4 in May, and I read the last 2, 5 and 6 in June. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was like a woman who's in her 30s. She has a life crisis. She doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know what she likes, what she wants to do. She's not very happy in her relationship, and everything is just wrong. And she doesn't like her friends anymore. So she tries to like find something new and be like, what am I interested in? What is my hobbies? And she tried to like rediscover herself. And to do that, she decides to pick up skateboarding because she sees skateboarding on Instagram and she thinks that's pretty cool. And yeah, it's basically newfound passion. You see this woman, she's in her 30s, and you decide like, oh, in your 30s, you can't like start new hobbies, and especially not like skateboarding. It has to be something else, like grandma hobby, I don't know. But I feel like it was really cute, really relatable to me because I am in my 30s as well. And I think it was very beautiful to read women supporting women because, like, apparently there's not a lot of skateboarders who are women in Japan. So the few skateboarders in Japan, they support each other and do their best. And the entire series follows not just this main character, but like multiple main characters who have different kind of crises in their lives, and they get like intertwined, they like become friends, and they help each other with these kind of crises. And yeah, women supporting women, I think it was beautiful. It was nothing crazy, but I feel like it was a very touchy, relatable story for me. I feel like if I would have read it, or you maybe read it in your 20s or something, or 15-year-olds or something, I don't think you would be able to relate to it as much, because there's a lot of like, oh, in your 30s as a woman, you have to like get married, you have to have children, your biological clock is ticking. There's a lot of like expectation on you as a woman. And they talk about that a lot, like how you have to dress to find a man, and you can't, do skateboarding because no man would ever accept something like that. And I don't know, I feel I wrote maybe, not because I feel like it's a bad series. I wrote it's a maybe for me because I feel like it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I feel like you have to be in a specific place in life to be able to appreciate it. It also has a lot of facts about skateboarding, so if you're into skateboarding, you would probably like this one a lot too. I learned a lot about skateboarding. There's also a lot of interviews with Japanese female skateboarders and how hard it's been to find like their footing and their place in the sport, which also was really interesting to learn about. So I ended the story by reading the 2 last volumes, and I thought they were really, really beautiful, and I'm happy I read them because it gave me a new perspective on it's never too late to pick up a hobby, and if something sparks your interest, just do it. No matter your age. It doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you're having fun. Sounds like a really good series? Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It's very heartwarming. But I also felt like the story kind of like hinted at something happening. And it took like 5 books to be able to get to that something. So we get hints of something big, and you don't get to know about it until like book 5. And then it kind of like book 6, it just wraps up really, really fast. So I feel like the ending was not satisfactory, but I think it's also because the author was not giving more volumes to work with, so they kind of like had to end the story. I feel like they probably had more to say, but probably didn't get, because the contract probably only said 6 volumes. I don't know, but I kind of felt like the ending was very hectic. Yeah. But overall, a good book. Oh yeah, then I read this manga. Oh my god. I read volume 1 and 2. I got them on a sale. They were like $5 each or something. And I bought them because I thought the cover art was really pretty. I'm really weak for cover art that looks like watercolor. There's something about it that just makes it look soft and cute and romantic, and I'm drawn to it. Sketchy was the same. I bought them because of the cover art, and it also had like a watercolor to them, and it's just something about it draws my attention. And Virgin Love was the same. This manga is 4 volumes in total. I own 2. I bought them on a sale. I'm probably gonna buy 3 and 4. I'm not really 100% sure yet, but maybe, perhaps. Might buy them digitally and read them digitally, because I don't know if I want to buy them. Well, we'll see. We will see. And it's about this girl you see on the cover. She is 26 years old, and she's a virgin. And she's very like self-conscious about being a virgin. And she feels like she's been a workaholic. She's been working really hard on her job, and everyone truly thinks she's a good woman, but no one see her in a romantic way, and that's probably because she always keep everyone but like an arm length distance, and she never see guys as potential romantic partners. She just see them as co-workers or friends or whatever, because she just like decided that romance is not for her. But she started kind of feeling left out and kind of do want to date, but she doesn't know how to date. And then she meets a guy who works in a bookstore who actually been checking her out every time she goes to the bookstore, and he kind of likes her and wants to ask her out. But she doesn't understand that he's into her. So she just decides that they are friends. So they start like hanging out and like just talking, and then one day she's like really frustrated and she's like, oh my god, I really want to lose my virginity because I'm sick of being a virgin. She's not even looking for romance, she just wants to lose her virginity. She's like, can someone just come and take it or whatever. And then her friend is like, maybe you should join this experiment because they're going to like have a romance experiment where they have like a house, and then 6 people live in this house. There's 6 singles that live in this house, and then they have to like live there for a year, and they would get paid, and they didn't have to pay like rent or anything, so they could like live there rent free for a year, and they would like getting a little bit of bonus money for it. But it was also an experiment to like see if they could like have these singles pair up or whatever. And there are 6 different people. They're very, very different, and she tells this book clerk that we should join the experiment for funsies, and he's like, but I like you, and she's like, yeah, I like you too, bro, whatever, let's go, because she doesn't understand that he means romantically. And then she applies for the experiment. She gets in because she's like, I'm a virgin, and they're like, what, a 26-year-old virgin? That's odd. So they bring her in, and he's like writing to the experiment too, and he gets in as well. So there are 2 people who is in the experiment, and then there's like 2 other girls and 2 other guys, and it's really silly. If you've seen like trashy romance reality shows like 90 Day Fiancé or I don't know, Married at First Sight, it's very much like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because like there's also like all the guys are kind of into her, so it's like obviously, and the other girls are just there because they want free rent and not to actually find someone. And one is like a fashion major, and another one is like really good with makeup, so they kind of like give her tips on how to look better. But she's also like the oldest there because she's 26. The guys are like 19 or 18, which kind of makes it like an age gap, which is also kind of weird. I don't know. It's interesting. The world revolves around the main character, kinda, but she's also really fucking stupid, and I think that's like my biggest issue with this, is that she's so stupid. Like, the book clerk guy truly likes her, but she doesn't understand that until perhaps at the end of the second book, when he takes his glasses off, and she's like, oh my god, he's beautiful without his glasses. And I'm like, oh, because I fucking hate that cliche. It's so bad. As someone who has glasses, I don't look better without my glasses. To be honest, I look fucking stupid without my glasses because I have to squint like this, and you know, my face is just weird. Clark Kent called and he wants his gimmick back. Exactly. It's been done for way too long. But yeah, and then the other girls are just like, oh, but he's a good guy. Let's you know, And they give him like fashion stuff tips too, to like make him good looking, so that she will realize that he was the guy all along. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I thought it was going to be like cute, but I feel like every character are just stupid and unlikable. And that's why I don't know if I want to buy volume 3 and 4, because I don't really care what happens. I guess I do care enough to like see where it goes, to maybe buy a digital copy and reading it digitally. But I don't know if I want to actually own the books in my bookshelf, because usually I only want to have 5-star reads in my bookshelf, and I feel like this is not it. Beautiful covers though, like the cover is a banger according to me. But other than that, what type of librarian judges a book by its cover? This one. I know a lot of people say that they don't, but you can't fool me. I know for a fact every human being judge a book by its cover. Even librarians. Even people who say they don't judge books by their covers, they do judge books by their covers. The only reason why we pick up a book to even read on the back of the book to see what it's about is because the cover caught our attention. If it didn't catch our attention, we would never pick it up. It's not like we go into the store and like library and we read the back of every single book. We only read at the backs of books that actually catch our attention. I will die on this hill. we all do it, subconsciously or not. That's just how we humans are. We're like crows and ravens. You see something that glimmers, we go and say, ooh, and we want to check it out. That's just how we are. But on the other hand, humans enjoy different stuff. So a cover that intrigues me will probably not intrigue you, and covers you like will probably not intrigue me, because we like different things, and that's cool. It is possible to be that stupid romantically. The amount of interactions I look back on and cringe at, how oblivious I was. I mean, yeah, I get it. But like, there's some stuff happening in this book that you go like, really though, girl? Really? There was another one, like she ends up in bed with the 18-year-old other guy in the house, and she's like, I like you, and he was like laughing, and he was like, I guess I like you too. And she's like, oh my god, he doesn't love me, he doesn't want to marry me, so I'm not gonna give my precious virginity to him. And she runs out, and she's like, he said he likes me, but I don't think he means he's in love with me. He probably just like me like a person and not love me. And I'm like, you went to the grocery stores and got groceries together and got back and then ended up in bed with him. He can't be like 100% in love with you, wanting to marry you, in love with you, from walking to the store back and forward. Maybe that's just me though. I don't know. Attention can be caught by the cover, but final judgment will of course be more than just the cover. Yeah, I mean, sure. But I still judge books by covers if I don't know what they are about. So my first judgment will always be on the cover. Sorry, I had to adjust myself in my seat because it's getting warm in here. Not that I'm saying I'm sweating or anything. I decided to pick up some horror. After reading that atrocious romance story, I had to read something. I was like, let's have people murder. As a bibliophile, the cover do matters? Yes. I mean, isn't that why we buy multiple of the same book? Because the cover is pretty and you're like, this is pretty, but this is also pretty and I don't know which one to buy, so I buy both. Maybe it's just me, but that's kind of what I do. This series, I think it's 3 volumes in total. I read the first volume so far. It's very intense. It's called Manhole. It's about sewers. It's about like a man who decided that lobotomizing people is good. And some people don't know they're stupid or that they have behavior that's not normal. And so we have to lobotomize them. And we don't do that to humans anymore. And he thinks that's a shame. So he decides to go on a trip. And in Africa, he finds a blood-borne parasite that takes place, like, it eats part of your brain, like parts of your brain, and then start living in one of your eye. And certain people who can live with that part of your brain gone, almost like a lobotomized. Oh my god, I can't even speak English anymore. They will survive and they will be better humans. But some people who have issues with drug use, gambling and stuff like that, impulse control, they will probably die from this parasite. But he kind of like tossed the parasite out and he's like, I know that it's not legal, but I want everyone to be possessed by it. Basically. And the storytelling is kind of like Law and Order, if you have seen that series, because we follow the police officers of them trying to track down this parasite and who has like thrown the parasite out in the world and the meaning behind it. And then they kind of like unravel the story of this parasite, and it's really intricate. There's a lot of information, and I feel like the author did a lot of research in this one. A convenient lobotomizing parasite, how lucky. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, it kind of is disgusting though, because the people who get lobotomized, it becomes like zombies, you know? And I don't know. I also think that he's kind of only the strong survives, because the weak-minded people will die because they keep fighting the parasite. If they just like give in to the parasite, they wouldn't have been like totally wrecked and died. So a lot of the strongest surviving, and it's not for the weak. We also get to see like a lot of torture chambers, you almost want to say, or like chambers of where they tried out lobotomizing people with the parasite to begin with, and how to like make the parasite better. And it's kind of gruesome, it's very bloody, it's kind of like ugh, you know? I liked it. It's if you're into zombie comics and zombie stories, I think this might be up your alley. I also enjoy the way its storytelling is from the police department and the police during research, because they're trying to be as logical as possible, and the parasite was not on their logical list of things it could be. I also think it's funny that like their medical team is like, take these pills, because if you eat them and you get the parasite in contact with the parasite, it's not gonna eat your brain because you have a paracetamol in your body, kinda. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny that they're doing their best to not be attacked by the parasite, but I feel like if they would have been attacked by the parasite, it wouldn't matter. Especially now, it would like, oh, I got some pills, but they don't really do much. Yeah, a lot of the villain's place is taking place in the sewers and in the manholes, so that's why the name is Manhole, because all these zombie-like people are down in the sewers. That seems like the kind of pill that should be widely distributed to the areas where the parasite is active. Yeah, and they refuse to go out with the information that the parasite is out because they feel like they have contained it good enough. But we see, scenes of it not being contained at all. So it's very interesting read. It's very much police officers are stupid, and yeah. I feel like I would have done a better job than the police officers, if I say it like that. Oh yeah, then I decided to read, we have at the library I work at, we have a new shelf that's called Book Talk Shelf. It's basically books that's super popular at Book Talk, that people talk about a lot. It's usually dark romance, and for people who doesn't know what that is, it's romance book, but they're dark. So it's not like your cutesy, oh my god, they find true love romance. It's more like she fell in love with a gangster who raped her with a gun or a knife handle, or he murdered an entire city for her. I don't know how to explain dark romance. It's just, it's romance, but fucked up. Is that good enough? So I read this series. It's a normal book series. The non-fantasy version of vampire romance. Yeah, basically. But probably a little bit more fucked up. At least, I mean, there's nuances to it, because you have like the newbie dark romance that's just like, oh, he's a gangster and he's a bad boy, but like I can change him. And then you have he's an actual serial killer and he comes in and fucks me up with a knife and salt and I enjoy the pain kind of thing. I don't know. This like grading of fucked up. Okay. This story is called Mindfucked. There's 5 books in this series, and the first one is called The Risk. It's about a woman who wants revenge. She's a serial killer. Technically she's a serial killer with a purpose though. Many years ago, she lived in a small town where they were extremely homophobic and her brother was gay. And her dad was the janitor of the school, and there was a serial killer going around in that city, and they needed to like pin the blame on someone. I can't tell you who the actual killer was because it was not her father, at least. But they didn't want the real killer to be put into jail because that was bad, because he was a good man. So they framed the janitor, or her father, and he was like prosecuted and killed. And then they decided that because he was killed, his family did not get to live. So they basically tortured both her sexually and like bodily, both her and her brother, and they forced them to each other. And then they kind of like skinned him and chopped his penis off. Yeah, and and I'm just saying the nice things that I feel like I can say on YouTube, because there's a lot more fucked up things in this series that happens. But there was like 13 boys who did this, and the entire city just stood by. They knew that the janitor was framed and not the real murderer, but they didn't want to, fuck with the real murderer. And then they looked when they tortured both her and her brother in the streets for 24 hours, and no one intervened and helped them, which is also really, really fucked up when you think about it. But anyway, she decided she's going to take revenge on the 13 guys who did this to her and her brother. They think that she died that night, but she didn't, so she just had to do a shit ton of surgery to be alive. And then the boyfriend of her brother, the gay brother's boyfriend, he's like some IT whiz guy, helps her get a new like identity and everything. And then after 10 years, when she's been planning everything, she becomes a serial killer and finding all these 13 boys and doing basically the same thing that they did to her and her brother, she do to them. And she really, really tortured them, and it's very, very descriptive. Anyway, to get to the romance part, because that's just the dark part. The romance part is that she falls in love with the FBI agent, who is also trying to find her. It's kind of like Criminal Minds, but also like Dexter. If they had a baby, this would be the book series. It's very dark. I devoured this series in one day. Every book is like 160 or 200 pages each, and I just went nom 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 and read them all in one sitting, because it was interesting, and there's a lot of twists and turns, and it was interesting to me. And yeah, the ending though, like, oh my god, if you're gonna read this, read it for the ending, because the ending alone is like it's crazy to me. Okay. Yeah, this is one of those series I'm probably going to walk around and think about a lot. And you go, girl. Whatever she did to those 13 men, they 100% deserved it. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, they did that to themselves, okay? This book... I forgot I added this to this list. I don't add picture books, but I added this because I thought it was cute. It's a picture book, a Swedish picture book called Thomas by Anna Haglund. I bought this one because my dad's name is Thomas, and I started reading it, and the theme whiplash, yeah, this is my reading, okay? Like, you should see my bookcases. You go like super cute and wholesome to what the fuck? I have some really, really fucked up books in my bookcase that I kind of like feel ashamed that I own. but they're good, but like I don't know. I don't know how to explain them to some people, you know, when they ask. Anyway, this picture book is about not an old man, but like a middle-aged man called Thomas, and it tells you about how he has like a self-cutting grass cutter. Vad fan är gräsklippare? Oh, lawnmower. Okay. A self-running lawnmower. And I don't know. It basically, it fits my dad really well. Like everything on every page is like, oh damn, that's my dad. So I basically bought it for my dad. That's, yeah, I don't know. Insert a mirror cleaning mirror. Yeah, I can't have people over because I don't know. They can't look at my bookcase. Another book that I read, I told myself I wanted to read 2 classics this summer, and 100 Years of Solitude was one of them. Because everyone told me, like, you have to read it. It's like one of the best stories and storytelling and books of all time. And like everyone was like, it's the best reading experience ever. And I was like, okay, I will give it a go. And it's basically magical realism before magical realism was a thing. I'm a huge fan of magical realism. I love it. Nothing wrong with that. But I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because it's just not my cup of tea, you know? Like, I'm a person who loves description. Like, there's a reason to why I love Stephen King and why I love Tolkien a lot, you know, because they can describe a tree for like 10 pages and I'm still interested because their way of poetically describing how one tree looks like is just so damn fascinating to me. But this book has basically no description at all. It just tells you, then this happened, then this happened, and then they did this, and then they said this, and this happened. You know, and to me, that just becomes really boring. I want something more, especially when it comes to a classic book. There's also a lot of characters. It's like, the book, for people who doesn't know, is about 7 generations. It's a family of 7 generations and they live in a town that they themselves kind of like founded, and time doesn't really work the same way there than the rest of the world, and they never die at least not from natural causes, and people are just weird and weird things happen. There's also a lot of incest in this, not intentional, but it's just like, oh, he's a bastard child, so we're never gonna tell him who his mom is. But then when he gets older, he becomes in love with his mom and he wants to be with his mom, and people are like, no, you can't be with her, but without telling them why he can't be with her. And you're like, okay, it happens to one character for 7 generations, but no, it happens an incest thing for every generation. And it's just weird to me that we have that much incest talk in one single family. But yeah, it's just not my cup of tea. I enjoyed certain scenes. Some scenes I was like, okay, that was kind of funny, or okay, that's thought-provoking, or whatever. But I feel like the entire book by itself was just like, not for me. And I feel like that's okay. It's okay to be like, okay, that's not for me, and it's whatever. I understand why people will enjoy it and why they will say this is like their best reading experience, especially if you haven't read magical realism before, because I feel like it is different to read magical realism, and if it's your first time, it's obviously gonna be different and spectacular and wow. But I've read a lot of magical realism, and I feel like it was just like meh. I think that it could have been amazing if it would have been written differently. I feel like my biggest thing with this one is that the storytelling and the narrative, how it was written, just doesn't vibe with my way of reading books. I felt like it was just like a big thick biography that I was reading about these 7 generations, and it was just like pinpointing like this person who was married to that person said this to that person, and then they to this person. You know, it was more like that, and instead of like a fictional read. So it kind of read like a non-fiction biography, but with like magical realism scenes, if that makes sense. I'm reminded of school days at the stair-shaped family tree. Yeah. It's just not for me. It's not bad. It's not horrible. It's just not for me. But I'm happy I read it, because then I can just like, if people be like, oh, have you read this? I can be like, yes, I actually have read that. So that's happy news. Then I decided that I have to read more manga. I have some manga just on my TBR because I bought some new mangas, and the TBR that I have, my physical TBR, is in like a book cart, like a library book cart. And I told myself that I can't buy more books as long as that book cart is filled, because I can only buy books to fill the cart again, if that makes sense. So I needed to read some, and I decided to read the omnibus of Sweet Blue Flower. I saw Yuri and I got my hopes up, and then I saw the rest of the notes. Yeah. I feel like, you know, again, you see how it's watercolor on the front. It grabbed my interest. It's also a Yuri, and I love Yuri, probably because I'm gay myself, and just girl to girl love is just the way to go. So I try to read every Yuri ever. I've heard mixed reviews of Sweet Blue Flowers. I know a lot of people like it, and I know a lot of people think it's weird. I think I'm on the spectrum that it's weird. I feel like the art is cute. The storytelling is weird though, because like it took me, because it's an omnibus, right? It took me like 200 pages to realize the story was about 2 schools, like 2 reviving like schools who like rivals. I didn't understand that because they didn't tell me that. It was very much up to understanding that between the pages, I guess. And the storytelling jumps a lot. It's like, okay, now we talk here, but then suddenly we're 2 days ahead, but we don't say it's 2 days ahead. We just have to assume it is. So there's like a lot of things, like the flow of the plot just feels very disjointed. I just feel like it doesn't make sense. Then we have some weird incest in this one as well, which like jumped to me because I just read 100 Years of Solitude, and I was like, okay, I need something cute. Let's just read some gay love, right? And then I read this, and I'm like, the first page is just this girl who's going to start high school, and her older brother, who's like 18 or 19, no, he's not even that, he's like 20 or something, he's sleeping with his sister, and they're cuddling, like spooning, and they're both like half naked, and the mom is like, Teehee, stop bothering your sister, or is she gonna be like late for school? And she's like, yeah, stop bothering me. And he's like, oh, it's your fault for not waking up. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, she's 14, 15. And her 20-year-old brother is just like cuddling her half naked in bed. Like, what? And then when she goes on dates, like, he wants to come and be like in the way of her dating. So I'm like, is her brother into her? Or why is this a thing? why is he so overprotective? And he like drives her to school, and like he doesn't want everyone to be close to her. I don't know, it's weird. And then the other girl, she knows that she's gay and lesbian, because she's in love with her cousin, who decided to get married to a man who is a teacher, I think, something like that. And she's like super mad at her cousin because she's like, she betrayed me. We used to cuddle and have pillow fights and sleepovers and everything, but now she's gonna marry a man. And I'm like, isn't that also kind of weird that her like cousin, who's like 24, 25, cuddled with her as well? Why are these 14-year-old girls cuddling with family members that's 20 plus in age? There's so many questions. Like, that alone just dragged the rating down for me. I don't know what to say. Like, I could look past the incest, like the weird incest scenes, because it's technically not incest, I guess, because they technically did not do anything more than allude to them doing something, I guess. But then you have like the disjointed storytelling of you don't know who's saying what and who is who, and suddenly, oh, it's two schools, because I thought it was about one school, but now we're two schools. Okay, that makes sense, because they have different outfits or like school uniforms. They kind of look the same, but they also don't look the same. But like, if they're black and white, they look the same. But if you get like colored pages, they don't look the same because they have different colors. But you don't know that because manga is black and white. I don't know. If the cousin is straight, the cuddles don't seem that weird from her side. Yeah, I don't know. The cousin also knows that her little cousin is gay and that she was leading her on, because when she brings her now husband to see her cousin, she's like, this is my husband. We got married, you know. She knows that her little cousin is mad because she feel like she was led on. And she's like, oh, we can't see each other anymore because I have my husband and you have to get over me. So, I don't know. There's a lot that's just weird with this one. And it could be like, you know, the incest or whatever is just like, if we would have gotten more information, maybe it wouldn't have been that bad. Like, I'm not saying incest is good or whatever, but I'm just saying that because the storytelling is so disjointed, maybe I'm just presuming the worst after reading 100 Years of Solitude, because I read other people's reviews and they did not pick up on this. So maybe it was just like me thinking the scenes were weird, but at a whole, maybe it's not. But then I also saw other reviews who thought, like me, that the scenes were weird, in fact. It's sad when the manga is published in only black and white, when the original version had colored sections. Yeah, that is sad. But, yeah, but if we look away from disjointed like storytelling and the weird incest family blah blah blah, we have really cute art style, and when it's like just the high schoolers, they actually do have really sweet and cute and wholesome relationships, because it is an all-girls school. So the girl with the cousin, she finds a girlfriend, but then it turns out that her girlfriend is just using her to get over a teacher that she's into. Which again is also kind of weird that you're into your teacher, and the teacher then is gonna marry your sister who kind of looks like you, but like an older version. I'm just saying there's a lot of weird things going on in this Yuri, okay? But yeah. Anyway, the two friends that you can see on the cover, they finally realize though that they probably are made for each other and they should date instead. And I'm like, yes, finally no weird grown-up things. I don't know. I own the first 2 volumes of Sweet Blue Flowers. Not sure if I read them back when I got them. Maybe you should read them again and see if you agree with me on the weird grown-up thing. Stories featuring it can be interesting if it's exploring the culture taboo and the consequences of it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like, a part of me is kind of intrigued to see where the story goes. So perhaps I will buy the omnibus, the second omnibus, just because. And I'm a huge Yuri fan, and we don't really get that many Yuris. But I do want to pinpoint though. I don't know if you guys have seen this or seen the patterns, but doesn't it feel like there's always either cheating or some kind of like weird incest cousin brother thing in Yuri books? I feel like it's extremely common if you look at the patterns. I feel like we have never seen, like, obviously they're coming a lot of Yuri books coming out now are better than back in the day, but like the Yuris back in the day, they were problematic. Like, really problematic. I just realized I had a mosquito bite on my calf and it itches a lot. Anyway, let's leave this book for a really good book. I bought 2 omnibuses of this. Don't Call It Mystery. I read the first omnibus, that's volume 1 and 2 in it. And I bought it because people told me, you're really into Sherlock Holmes, which I am. I love Sherlock. I'm a Sherlock Holmian. Anyway, I'm a Sherlock fan, a huge Sherlock fan. And people said this is a manga version of Sherlock. So if you truly like Sherlock, you will love this. So I decided to trust this person and I bought 2 omnibuses. And I'm really fucking happy I did, because this is quality manga. And perhaps the problematicness of older Yuri goes along with Yuri itself also being sort of taboo back in the day. Could be. I also think it's because back in the day it was more common for men to write Yuri than female authors. Now we get a lot of actually lesbian women who write Yuri, and they're more like, this is how female love actually works. Back in the day it was more sexualized and more what men fantasize about rather than actual Yuri, I think. There's a lot to unpack on that one topic, to be honest. But Don't Call It Mystery is about this guy you see on the cover. He has basically afro. One evening he is called in by the police saying, you have stabbed someone to death, and it's like a student at your university in your class. And he's like, I have not stabbed anyone, you know. And they like, you have to come to the police office, blah blah, with us. And they drag him away. And while there, he starts asking every police working questions about them, and it's kind of like he becomes their therapist, but he also helps them with the crime because he's extremely smart. So he's kind of like Sherlock, but he has more empathy than Sherlock actually do himself. The entire manga is just dialogue. Like the entire story is just mainly dialogue. So even if you like, oh, I can read a manga in like 1 hour or whatever, this is kind of hard to do that because there's a lot of text to go through. And it's not just text to go through, but it's very like intelligent. You have to think a lot dialogue. So he kind of like helps the police officers with their like personal problems at home and being their therapist, and he also helped them find the actual criminal that they're looking for because he is not the person they're looking for. And after that chapter we have this guy, and he does not have any luck in life whatsoever, because anywhere he is there's a crime happening and he have to like solve the crime, and he does it very well because he is a very smart guy and he can see patterns that other people can't see. I don't know, I thought it was very compelling and intelligent, and if you're really into like Sherlock Holmes and detective stories, I think you would like this one. Even if you're really into like therapy and stuff to like, oh, that's mind-boggling, or oh, that made me really think, I think you will like these as well. I gave it 5 stars because like I have nothing to like comment on. To me it's perfect. Also the main character's name kind of sounds like Totoro, so everyone makes fun of him because like, oh, you have an afro but you're Totoro. I don't know, I thought it was like a funny, compelling mystery story. There's like one chapter when like he's being hijacked by like a bus hijacker, and it turns out that they're after someone who's a murderer who's on the bus, and then he has to like solve the problem, like who's the murderer for these hijackers, and it's very interesting. Kind of like Miss Marple, who lives in a cozy little village where there's a murder every week. Yeah, kinda. So it's just like, you know, whatever he does, he just ends up in these weird situations and he kind of like have to solve them. And he's not very into actually solving them because, you know, like Poirot himself, if you go with Agatha Christie, you know, he's very egocentric and he wants to like show how smart he is and how clever he is. Totoro, who's the main character here, he doesn't really care what other people think of him. For example, with like the bus hijacker, he was going to a museum because he was really into a specific art style and he wants to go and see this art style. And the entire time when like the hijacker is saying that he's gonna start shooting them all if they don't shut up and everything, and he's just like raising his hand and complaining about the fact that how long is this gonna take, because like today is this last day of the museum opening and he really wants to see this expedition. It's just like he's a very chill guy who doesn't really care, but then they like push him to care because like you're not gonna go anywhere if you don't really do anything, and then you have to like solve it anyway. And he also meets a guy who's kind of like the Moriarty to his Sherlock, so he does get like a super villain, I guess, some sort of super villain. At this moment, I'm reading the second volume of the omnibus, the 3 and 4th, and it's about like a family inheritance game where a lot of family members are being murdered for the inheritance, and he's gonna be like the lookout and help a young girl to not lose the inheritance and not to die. So he has to be like, this is why and this is who is killing everyone. It's really interesting, but like I said, there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of text. If you're gonna read this, you have to be like, be prepared to use your brain. Use your little brain cells and piece information together. But to me, it was worth it. Then I read a fictional book that kinda didn't read as a fictional book. It reads more like an essay or like a poetic essay from the author herself. This is the author Yo-Yo is she writes poetry normally, and this is her first fictional book, and it's called Invisible Kitties. She said that this book is about like a couple who decides to buy a cat, and then like every chapter is 2 or 3 pages, and there's like 60, 70 chapters or something like that. And every chapter is like an observation of cats, but with like a magical realism touch to it. So it's not very like cats are like this, but it's more poetic and beautiful written. And I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. As a cat person and some like a cat mom, I just read every chapter and I was like, yeah, that's my cat. That's exactly what he does, you know? But I seen that this gets a lot of bad reviews on Goodreads, and I think it's because like it's written that it is a fictional book about like a young couple buying a cat and like how it is to be like a parent for the first time, which is technically is between the lines, but I would probably say that it's more of an essay or snapshots of like, because she's a cat mom herself, so I feel like when she wrote this, it was just like 70 different essays of herself being a cat mom to her own cat. And if you would have gone out with that, I don't think you would have gotten the criticism, because I feel like most people go like, but it's a fictional book, but it's not a proper story because every chapter is about a new subject. Like one chapter is about why cats purr, for example, and it's just like a deep dive into purring and what purring could mean in like a magical sense. And then you have like one about cat poop or whatever, so it's not like a story from A to B, it's more like different observation from a cat. I like cats and media about cats, then you would probably love this one. I should have guessed you were a Sherlock fan from your name. Yeah, exactly. That's why my last name is Adler. You're probably the first person to put 1 and 1 together, because everyone is like, why is your last name Adler? Oh my god. Congratulations. Yay. But yeah, if you want a really good study about kitties and how it is to be a cat person or like a cat parent, but in a very poetic written prose, because this is extremely poetic written, considering she is a poet, you will love this. I love this one, to be honest. My mind goes to how quesadillas, similar to essays, to easily slip into fiction shelf in some places. Yeah. A certain incarnation of Irene Adler in television made a strong impression. Ah, I see. I see. Is it the one with the Benedict Cumberbatch one? When she's a nudist? The last book I read was a horror book. That's the one. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people get a strong impression of that one. The last book I read was a horror book. It's called The Caretaker. I don't know if you guys seen my latest video where I talk about all the books I want to read in my 3-week vacation, but this was one of the books. I said that I wanted it to be about stalking because it was a long time ago since I read a stalking book. I really want to read a thriller or a horror about stalking because it was so long ago. I remember the year, when You got really popular, the book called You. I think it was not even the book that got popular, it was probably the TV show that got popular, and then the book got popular from that, and then there was like a lot of stalking books coming out with kind of like the same premises, and I kind of thought this was going to be somewhat like that, but it's not. It's not, and in good ways, because this was crazy and it was really good. The foreword is said that Marcus Cleavier, when he wrote the book, he wanted to write a horror book that spoke to people with OCD and anxiety disorders and PTSD, and that's why he wrote this book. Something I want to warn about if you decide to read this book is he never explains stuff. You have to just take them for what they are. Sometimes you don't show monsters because as long as you don't show the monster or you explain it logically, it's not gonna be like spooky anymore. And I feel like that's what he done. He doesn't explain why things are the way they are, they just are, and you just have to accept it on the fact, because I've seen a lot of bad reviews saying they hated the book, not because the book is bad, but because they read the entire book and they never explained anything. And I think that pisses people off because they want to like have a logical explanation, but I feel like it makes sense because like not everything has a logical explanation. This author, Marcus Cleavier, got famous for writing creepypastas or no sleep stories on Reddit, and he published like one chapter every week on Reddit and got really, really popular doing that. And I feel like creepypastas never explain stuff, they just are, and you just have to like accept what they are in the end. So it's technically a web novel. His first book was a web novel, you could say, because Where We Lived, it's called, I think, Where We Lived or Where We Used to Live. No, Where We Lived or Where We Live. I don't know, something like that. That one was a web novel. This one is his first work that he's written without having it published first. And it's about a girl called Macy. She's really, really poor. Her dad has died like 2 years ago and left her to take care of her younger sister. But after he left, they could not get like security money or anything from him. He doesn't have any money, and they basically left penniless and they don't have anything. So she had to leave school and start working, and she never really dealt with her dad's death properly because she always had to like take care of her sister and be there for her sister. And she does anything for money. She have had a few breakdowns, but she kind of tries to push the breakdowns down. Her sister is very like carefree and doesn't really care about, she's like whatever. But they are like haven't paid the rent for like a few months, and soon they're gonna be kicked out. And Macy feeling like the dread of having to do everything and putting everything on her shoulders. Then she hears about this old rich woman out in the woods saying that her husband needs a caretaker and she needs someone to come and like take care of him for 3 days while she's away. And it pays really well because she's a very rich woman. And she gets there, and first she's like, okay, this is creepy, like the house is really creepy. And it's like in a creepy place in the middle of the forest. And then the woman tells her that her husband is actually dead. And Macy is like, oh shit, so like the job is no more because your husband is dead. And she's like, no, technically I just wrote that I needed a caretaker for my husband because technically I just want someone to like be a house sitter for 3 days, but not a lot of people would want to do that here for 3 days. So I just lied about like in the papers. And Macy is like, okay, that's weird, but like I can house sit for you. And the old woman tells her that if she's gonna be a house sitter, she has different rights or different things that she has to do, because on her husband's deathbed he said that for 70 years he'd been doing certain things in the house to keep the demons and the bad people away. And she is his husband, she like wife, she was like, I promised him on his deathbed that I would continue doing this even after he was dead. So if you're going to be a house sitter, you have to follow the rules and follow the rights and do whatever it is he wanted to be done. And she was like, but he was like super delusional and super delulu, so like there's no demons, I promise, basically. So basically it's like, that sounds weird. But then the old lady is like, you will get like $9,000 for 3 days and a bonus if you do it really well. And she's like, shit, I can't say no to that money. So she decides to do it. And then the rights that she has to do in the house is really, really weird. They're kind of like cult-like. I don't know. And you know, you start feeling weird about the entire story. Like, I don't want to talk more about the rights because I feel like that would just give way too much what's gonna happen. But there's a lot of like talking about is the house actually haunted? And is there actually a demon entity going on in this house? Or is Macy just having a real severe OCD and PTSD and she's Delulu? And she's just like having a nervous breakdown, just like probably the old man did. I don't, we never got like a good explanation in the end either. A lot is not what we think they are. So like, again, we can't really trust the narrative here because Macy is the narrator and we just have to trust whatever it is she tells us. But she also lied to us a lot because she tells us in the beginning, for example, that her dad was in an accident, but then it turns out that it wasn't an accident, but he was probably Sudoku'd, you know, like he didn't want to live anymore. But she doesn't want to realize that, but she kind of lies to herself. And the book is kind of written from her subconscious, so there's a lot of inner monologue. And she also have multiple people in her head speaking to her. So for example, her little sister is speaking to her, and her dad is speaking to her, and other people are like speaking to her, but it's all her. But it's all gets like jumbled up into like she's a crazy person. So maybe she's just Delulu. But then things start to happen. But she's also really fucking dumb. You know, if I would have been in this house and they told me, do this, this, and this, otherwise demon will come, I would just fucking do them. Even though I knew it's probably bullshit, I will do them, right? But she does them half-assed and then kind of like doesn't manage to do them because she's bad at them. And then obviously like, oh, if you can't do this right, then you're gonna be punished with this, this, and this. And it just goes crazier and crazier. And she basically ruins everything an old man did for 70 years, she can't do in one evening. So she's very dumb. I also think that the old lady kind of left her and was like, that's your problem now. I think that she was like, okay, I don't want to deal with this house anymore. I will just like trick a person to take over the house and do the rights for me, and then she is dipped out because Macy could not contact her when she fucked up the rights, and she was like, why can't I not contact the old lady anymore? Because the old lady dumped her. That's why. But it's just really good though. Like, I read it and I was actually surprised how good it was. It's more thought-provoking in like talking about the OCD and PTSD horror, and is she Delulu or not? What's real and what's not real? It's not like, oh shit, I can't sleep at night, it's that spooky. It's more like interesting concept to me, I think. I don't know if you guys seen the horror movie called The Boy. I think it's called The Boy, about like an old couple who wants a babysitter, but it turns out that the baby she's gonna be a babysitter over is a doll, because the old couple's son died in a fire long time ago, and she has to like babysit this doll for them. But then in the end it turns out that the boy never died, but he lived in like the wall of the castle the entire time, and the old people was just like looking for a girlfriend for their son. I don't know, it was really weird. It was a good movie though, I do recommend it. Now I spoiled the ending though, but it kind of gave me that vibe. Like, I don't think the house was alive, but I think there was something living in the house, if that makes sense. So it raises the question whether the demons make the voices more real to her. Yeah. I think, like, you know, you can have a really good, like, book discussion on this. I think it's a really good, like, if you have a book club, read this and discuss what do you think the ending meant. Because, like, the last page of this, I was just, like, not blown away because I kind of understood it, like, going there. But it could mean so many things, because I've seen reviews and no one feel like the ending meant the same. So I feel like, you know, like the ending is open but also not open, but like it could mean so many things. It's just a really interesting book. I'm really happy I read it. I haven't read his first book that was written on Reddit before, the one We Lived Here, so I actually ordered it because I really want to read that one as well, because I really liked his writing style. It intrigued me. So I'm hoping to read more from him and he writes more. His storytelling was very like genius, but also very like easily done, which I thought was intriguing. I really want to write my own book at some point, but I always been like, oh, I'm not smart enough and I can't write poetic like other people can or stuff like this. But his way of writing is very simple. It's not very intricate, but it still like crawls under your skin in a creepy way. So it doesn't have to be poetic or intricate in a way. And I find that interesting. Take the lesson from Sketch and just do it. Yeah, I really should. Hi Steve, welcome. This was actually the last book I had on my reading. That's everything I read in June. And that would mean that in total I read 21 mangas, no light novel, and 17 normal books. I focused on normal books or normal fiction this month, and I think you can tell. Yeah. Today I finished The Gunslinger from like the first book in the Dark Tower series from Stephen King. I also started a light novel because I have some light novels I really want to read this summer as well. So yeah, I started some really good books. I also did buy some like a new package of horror books, so maybe there will be a lot of horror books in July. I don't know. Couldn't not get through The Gunslinger, but I can't remember why. It could be because the entire book is just like a prologue, because I know a lot of people say that they did not enjoy it because it wasn't descripted to what was going on and what was happening, because you have to just like, I don't know, we just like realize like, oh, that's why. But it's a very simple story, really. There's this man in black that we don't know yet who he is, but he is running over the desert, and then you have the gunslinger chasing after him. And during his chase, he comes across some people. Some are helping him, some is in his way, and some he likes and some he doesn't like. And then you have the black man putting up like traps for him along the way. And it will take a few books until we will realize who the man in black is and why he's going to the Dark Tower. And so the first book is just like a prologue in the world building. And the world is... we kind of realize that some of the people that we meet are people who died in our world, in our parallel world, and where they are now is not our world, but kind of like our world, but it's another dimension. So yeah, I feel like if you're gonna read it, just give it a lot of time and don't get like hung up on certain stuff, because everything will be explained, but it will take a long time before they are explained. It's just the kind of books like you have to enjoy the ride, and it will be slow sometimes, and I feel like you just have to slow it down and just be like, okay, this is just how it is now. I love Trails in the Sky FC, and that whole JRPG is just a prologue. Oh, I think it was something about the main character. Think about it. Yeah, could have been. Roland is not like... he's not the most likable character, to be honest. He doesn't really care about people, sleep around with women, and then just goes out and does a massacre of the entire city she lives in. I don't know. But there is a reason to why he does that. But they recently made a comic version of the Dark Towers. Maybe you will enjoy the comic version more than the fictional book version. You can try that one at least. That's where I stopped. Yeah. Yeah, but I think a lot of people stopped there, to be honest. Yeah. It is what it is. I think a lot of people also don't like it because nothing is explained. It's just like you have to go with the ride and just like, okay, this is happening. I can't explain why. Or we don't know where these people are coming from. We don't know this and that and that. Something I like about the Dark Tower series is though that if you know his other works and his other monsters, they will all be referenced in the Dark Tower. So you will see the It monster and you will see like other spooky monsters like The Shining and everything. Like his entire world building from all the books just go together as one, and I kind of find that to be beautiful. But I think you will see that in the comic version as well. I haven't read the comic version, but it is on my reading list. Like I saw that they published a new omnibus of the graphic novel of it, and the graphic, it looks really fucking good, by the way, but it is $80 for it, or $100. I think like $80 for volume 1, $100 for volume 2, and then $80 for volume 3. I'm not sure. It just really bothers me that it's that expensive, but yeah. I love mysteries that I can try to figure out. Lack of information is a good thing in fiction for me. If there's a consistent world building behind it, yeah. I really like mysteries too. I feel like, I don't know, but I feel like a lot of people start reading these days thanks to book talk and other things. They don't have the patience for question marks or lack of information. I feel like they want to be served everything, and they can't like if a book ends on a question and it's not like clear to what actually happened, I think it pisses people off, because I see a lot of negative reviews surrounding that, and I think it's because everyone, they don't want to use their brains. They just want to be served everything and be like, here's the story, read it, and you can't comprehend it in a different way because this is how it is. But I don't know. I feel like I want to use my brain sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's nice to read easy literature as well. But I do enjoy using my gray cells. I'm a postmodernist. I like to do my own take on books. Yeah, same. Yeah. I don't know why, but I got a sniffles when right now. I haven't been sick for a long time, but now when I'm sitting here and talking, I'm just getting the sniffles. Maybe it's because I've been speaking too much and I need to drink water or something. I've been speaking for 2.5 hours after all. It's kind of funny. I don't know where the sniffle came from. It just appeared out of nowhere. I think I'm gonna end the stream here and make myself some tea and go and read something. Maybe your computer is blowing dust around. Maybe. It could also be pollen, to be honest. Yeah, maybe. It's open, the window. Thanks for the stream. It was cozy book chat about some very weird books. Yeah. June had been a very weird reading for me with a lot of different books, so to speak. Hopefully July will be a better month with some better books to talk about, but we will see. You never know. But thank you all for stopping by. Much love to you guys, and I hope to see you soon again. Bye bye, everyone.